Hey, it's Soul, and this is Warcraft Weekly, the show that's gushing over the incoming housing news for 12.1, and the rest, it's okay too. Please like this video, subscribe for more WoW coverage, and catch me where I'm live. So this week is pretty big for World of Warcraft. Patch 12.7 went live with a much better reception compared to the previous 12.5, like there's a really high bar to hit there. Although, we're still kind of playing with perspectives here. The chatter across social media is the usual mix between folks who might be happily plodding along versus, of course, the real gamers who always have something to say, kind of like me all the time. Anyway, this patch released with a few of the, more usual bugs and hiccups that were mostly resolved right away. So instead of hanging on bugs, the narrative from some folks is shifted to, well, okay, this is such a pointless patch. I've talked this subject to death already on how these mid patches are, they're designed with the non-progression player in mind. Understandably, there are a lot of gamers who still aren't used to the idea that not every new patch has to mean number go up, as in, higher item levels, tougher bosses, or basically this constant vertical climb within the context of a season. After this 0.7 patch, we can make a claim that certain kinds of players are being catered to more than others. I remember what it was like before, so I'm not surprised why the game is the way it is now. So my question is for those out there who might have been like, maybe this ain't it when it comes to these mid patches. My question is, what should Blizzard do instead? Should they be looking to please a certain audience for the sake of retention? Should they only focus on just bug fixes and class changes and patches and go back to a season-long system sort of thing like before? Whether we're dealing with bugs or coming to terms with what's next, at least we can do something about latency. The sponsor of today's video, Exit Lag, can help improve your connection to World of Warcraft and tons of other games, and of course they've got promotions worth checking out. Now, I'm not going to lie to you, I live on the west coast of the United States, but I play World of Warcraft on East Coast servers, so my ping is going to suffer no matter what. With Exit Lag's optimization, I'm only saving a couple of ping at best, as you can see here on screen, which it tells me, okay, my normal connection, it ain't so bad, but also Exit Lag really works. It's easy to set up too. Once you make a free account and install, you can immediately activate the free trial, no credit card. Click right here to add a game like World of Warcraft in this big old list. From here, I don't know what anything else means, but I just hit that big red button up there and then load up WoW. And that's pretty much it. Check the link below or scan the QR code to take advantage of their promo where, if you sign up for a year, it's half off and you get a free month of Discord Nitro Basic. Bundle this up with a partner or a party of 5 or even bigger savings. But most importantly, check out the free trial and see for yourself. Don't do it for me, do it to see the possibilities. This week, Blizzard revealed patch 12.1. The other day, I did my usual read the blog kind of thing with some quick reactions and some commentary. Since then, though, I've had some time to think things over, but we've also learned a lot more information that wasn't included in the Wildcast, and it's got me really excited for what's to come. We're going to learn a lot more of the little details over the coming weeks, but for now I'm going to touch on some of this new info and leave a few thoughts where I can, and trust me, I can. With 12.1 comes a new zone called the Coiled Isle, and some familiar trappings with, questing, outdoor activities, and public events, and goodies to find all over. Returning to WoW is the idea of zone-based progression, where continued play through the zone unlocks bonuses that are unique to that zone. It's pretty similar to the boons we got in Zul'Aman, but it looks to be a lot more robust, not to mention noticeable. So I'm reminded of zones like Mechagon and Nazjatar in Battle for Azeroth, and then there was Zereth Mortis in Shadowlands, where we unlocked bonuses and bodyguards to make life easier. I'm a big sucker for stuff like that because of the immersion. It makes it feel like I'm making a difference in the zone outside of me, hey, I'm eligible to pick up some cosmetic off the renown track. Because hey, this is a role-playing game. Defeating the raid boss and timing that dungeon, that's a great dopamine hit. But also feeling the sense of progression or progressing a zone, that hits a little different. Another big change, they're introducing the feature called Lairs, but they're basically bringing world bosses and turning it into instance content. My first thought was, Hey, cool, less lag in zones, you can't be mad about that. This should be slightly familiar to those who played through Legion back in the day, like those who remember Antorus, and they went through these big portals to take on a boss alongside randoms. Only in this case, we'll be able to queue up for different difficulties, including flexible mythic, meaning flexible myth drops. So, pretty crazy. There's a lot of chatter over the upcoming dungeon lineup for Season 2, and I'm gonna just kind of cut to the chase. Why are they adding ruby life pools into the into the pool? I find that kind of weird. Like, we're going into a troll zone with a troll raid and a number of the included dungeons in this coming season. They're also troll themed, but instead of dolling up an older dungeon like Gundrak or Drakthron Keep, they're bringing back an old and mostly unrelated dungeon. It kind of sucks. It tells me that at some early stage of development, they figured, I guess there isn't enough time to do the whole dungeon conversion thing. But, I mean, on the bright side, we're getting lots of housing updates instead. And I'm kidding, but I'm sure some people will take that very seriously, and that's kind of scary. There are changes happening to loot in 12.1 that are going to have some huge impacts on the game at almost every level. First, bonus rolls are back for Season 2. They appear to work the same way as they do in Season 1, and this time they're going to be in from the very start of the season, but it's going to ramp up a bit. We don't know all the details yet, but basically, one bonus roll will be available as a vault choice. So basically, if your vault sucks, we can pick up a token. Later on, in patch 12.15, it sounds like we'll be able to purchase an additional one that is not dependent on our vault choice being crap, and that's going to take us through the rest of the season. This also means that, like dungeon gear, rolling for raid gear with these tokens, it's only going to cost 1 instead of 2. Later on, upgrade tokens like the Void Cores, they're also going to come back. This time though, necks are going to be added into the mix. So weapons, trinkets, and then now necks can be upgraded at some point later in the season. This next one though, it's picked up a lot of buzz. In raids, what we get from the Great Vault will be 1 upgrade track higher than what we're currently running. So for my team, as a heroic guild, we can expect to have a bunch of myth track pieces to choose from that much early in the season. Mythic raiders will find the very rare loot from raid boss loot tables. They're going to have an item level equal to a level 9 out of 6 mythic. They can basically break the limit with these select pieces. Another game changer, when using the catalyst to convert gear into a class set, any secondary stats or even cantrip effects on that piece, it's going to carry over. That's a crazy change, allowing more flexibility with our stat choices, not to mention a lot more time played as we try to get that perfect piece of gear to drop so we can use the catalyst to convert it. Now, when we step back a bit, it appears that myth track gear is going to be increasingly common. The difference now, the grind or the chase or whatever, it's going to be with upgrading that gear, but also finding the right myth track gear to use with the catalyst because we want them stats. In other words, item level is going to be easier to get in Season 2. Optimization is going to be harder simply by making that secondary stat customization even possible. This is the part where we say, hey, you know what? They should bring back reforging. Yeah, but it seems pretty clear this is the season-long retention I mentioned a few minutes ago. This year we celebrate 10 years of Mythic Plus when it was first introduced in Legion, and 10 years later, the seesaw between raids and keys, it's only been going back and forth. Where those who prefer one activity over the other, they end up feeling forced to do both in order to progress. There's a lot of grumbling in Mythic Plus World for this season over now how they have to raid in order to push the highest keys because at the tippity top level where every stat counts, raids are likely going to be the only option. Now, this is my very biased opinion, but I'm looking forward to this upcoming shift. And when we take a step back again, these are going to be great changes for the game overall. Because in this season, as in Season 1, it's just been easier to do keys in order to progress through even heroic raids, which I found very weird. But in Season 2, gamers will be able to more or less stay in their lanes. That is, until they reach the infinite difficulty of keys, and it demands every possible stat to be optimized. The takes are going to come from all over, but the actual people affected by these changes are quite accurately the people trying to be the 1% of Mythic Plus World. There have been no perfect solutions in this 10-year-long debate, so I'm looking forward to seeing how it goes this time, especially when we consider all of these changes together. There are some smaller but still important improvements. Pings are improving, letting users ping abilities to easily announce to others if an ability is ready or on cooldown. Pinging people will show up on party and raid frames too. My favorite though, you can opt your ping to prioritize the environment over mobs and vice versa when you're trying to throw one down. Because there are lots of times where I'm trying to ping a place to go only to accidentally ping a mob or a person, and that gets really frustrating and confusing. So I'm looking forward to that one. Details on delves are still underway, but the Delve Nemesis Hall of Fame, it's coming back, although this time it's time-based instead of a race against players. So what you want to do is take down the new Delve boss within the first week of Season 2, and then you get like a title and whatever it is that you get. This really opens the door, especially in Season 2, where hopefully our current gear will carry us through. And so now we've got to talk about housing. Folks are still data mining and looking through the information, but there are a lot of highlights to point out and totally go nuts over, so strap in. Probably the biggest news to come out, blueprints, aka import-export options, they're coming in 12.1. This will allow us to save our exteriors, our interiors, or a room-by-room basis into this nifty little code that we can save for later, or share with others, or sell them if that's allowed. I've been talking about this very, very regularly. This is going to be a huge win for the crowd of players out there who are intimidated by the manual work of actually building and putting a house together, because the learning process, it's not easy. So soon we'll be able to just download a home, and it's made to be very friendly by informing us what's needed or what's missing when we try to apply a blueprint, and we can force the blueprint to build in case we don't care about that room with 30 Nazoth eyeballs or whatever. There may be limitations though. I should remind you all that housing isn't available in this current build of the PTR, so there is some guesswork happening, but there are only so many blueprints we can only save according to some data mining strings. I'm hoping that this restriction is similar to how we can only save like so many UI profiles server side, and otherwise need to have a bunch of these UI codes stored in a separate document. This makes me wonder, maybe not all the housing information is saved on these single giant codes we can save onto a text file, which would effectively give us unlimited saves. It could be that the actual housing information is all still saved server side, and the share code we get, it just accesses that information, which means anyone with the code can access whatever's in there as it's being updated. But also, as the builder, if we want to, we can possibly kill or revoke that code and make it unusable for anyone who happens to have it already. Again, I'm not super sure on this, but we're just going to find out next week when housing is testable. I just want to kind of like maybe plant that seed in your head. Regardless though, the possibilities are kind of frightening. Folks can use this whole blueprint thing as a kind of save state for their home, so someone like me can finally save their award-winning build forever. It can also mean a person can work on their orc house, and their human house, and their elf, and their Pandaren, and their whatever house separately by like switching from one blueprint to the next. Now this could be a double-edged sword. It's dangerous because one, it's going to be that much faster to blow through our housing storage and gold and resources and so on. Two, some people might find this freedom to also be overwhelming if they happen to struggle at managing their priorities. Like, oh my god, there's so much to do, I don't know where to get started with all these 10 houses I want to build, so why bother? And maybe they'll just download a house instead. We're also going to see sites like the Housing Database and Wowhead get really aggressive at offering spaces for designers to share their places as well as their codes. Even I'm probably going to do something with Around Azeroth, where if people want, they can share their code and I'll provide it in a video description or something like that. Folks have shared concerns over blueprints possibly robbing us of creativity, as many may just download builds from Building Mouse or whoever creator and not build anything on their own, to which I ask, why is that your problem? Housing is what we decide to make of it, and if blueprints get someone who hasn't been into housing, I mean, no complaints there. Someday we're going to get copy-paste and mass select options, meaning we can have blueprints of entire rooms with all sorts of kit bash stuff we can move into our existing builds. Like imagine we can download a room full of like 50s era appliances or something like that. What we're going to likely see are different tiers of players who download blueprints at different degrees, either, maybe heavily or none at all. But with 12.1, I expect some of the more popular blueprint downloads will be of housing layouts. And by that, I mean full builds that are largely unfurnished, like they just have these really amazing floor plans and stairway work and greenery and so on and so forth. I talked on blueprints a bit much, I think, so let's get to what else is coming because it's still a lot. Thanks to the housing database for this one, new levels are in fact coming. At level 10, we unlock a weekly quest to obtain a random piece of decor from the last architect. At level 12, we unlock large exteriors, so hey, goodbye to your footprint, but the larger space means more details elsewhere, maybe. As for budgets, of course, these will go up too. It totals up to an additional 1,600 decor budget if we jump from level 9 to 12 and another 30 room budget, meaning builds are going to be even more massive and gamers are going to be pounding at the doors for the increased storage limits. On the current PTR, we can't see if there have been any changes on that either though. Also note the higher experience requirements. Hopefully whatever experience that we have been accruing over the past couple of months will apply to these new levels. Also, basements are coming, although more accurately, we'll be able to relocate the entrance of our homes. So now we can do all sorts of goofy things, like pretend we're beaming into a transporter or a gateway room or something. We can, of course, have basements, and otherwise descend into our builds as we enter the home. That sounds very cool. Like imagine dungeon crawling, or cave diving, or like make an immediate trap door and then have the person fall 5 stories into their death. That's going to be awesome. But there are a lot more possibilities. Pets will be placeable and they'll have new tech to help them navigate throughout the house. Now, I imagine, depending on the build, this might feel kind of awkward. Like, what if you have a really crazy spiral staircase that's made out of Lordaeron fences? Like, what's going to happen? Side note, I noticed a Pepe decor we can unlock, and if we can later purchase multiples of these, I can imagine very creepy rooms with a wall or a tunnel full of Pepes. Yeah, a bunch of new dyes are being added, including ones that were sort of lost in the 12.05 patch because of fixes that ended up breaking many dyes, so at least they're coming back. They're also finally streamlining the dye system from the dozens of existing dyes down to 9 basic dyes like, blue, green, or whatever. And when choosing a color from the palette, which again is getting bigger, those 5 different kinds of yellows, they're going to simply consume the basic yellow dye. Obviously, a lot of new decor is being added to a variety of sources, including zone and instance content. Even fishing in the new zone will unlock crafting recipes for even more decor. There are a lot more details to come out on that front. As for what we get, it's not limited to just more troll stuff, but some of these are real game changers. We're going to get 2 kinds of pre-built stairs, including a straight line and a tight spiral. What you see here on screen are the base colors, but these can be dyed to whatever colors available. We're also getting perfectly flat beams and pillars, as well as wall and floor panels. So say goodbye to those large platforms you've been using, as you can now replace many of them with these lower budget pieces. Those who've been looking for straight edges as accents or trimmings, hey, here you go too. Not only that, these are also dyeable and all available from the neighborhood vendor for pretty cheap. But let's not get too excited yet. I want to actually see the sizing of these things once housing is up on the PTR. Regardless, these new building block additions are likely to tempt creators to break their builds and start from scratch, knowing they can have these sharper details. It's already been very cool seeing the evolution of housing from early access and how builds have become larger and more complex. These new pieces, along with everything else coming in 12.1, are going to change trends and techniques once again. There are a lot of things I haven't mentioned, like these wacky powers that are coming to Delves, thanks to Cloudy for bringing them up. Discord chat is coming in 12.1 to keep players connected, which has been a really big disadvantage for in-game server communities for quite some time now. But you can count on me to cover those, as well as the new endeavors mentioned in the reveal, and so much more. But for now, that's the show. It's like overnight, I'm totally overwhelmed with patch coverage, and there are some game-changing shifts. I know I've said that a number of times, but it definitely doesn't feel like clickbait or hyperbole. It feels very true. When we take a step back, it feels like WoW's endgame is being transformed once again, and these days that also includes housing. And then there's the rest of the season with Labyrinth Delves and another mid-season raid, and who knows what else. I don't know about you, but I'm finding all this I'm repeating myself a lot. I'm finding this all extremely exciting, and I can't wait to share my findings with you over the coming weeks. As for the more immediate future, next week around Azeroth, we'll be visiting the Hydra Premades Guild. Well, they'll show off a bit of their housing chops and who they are as a community. The following week, we'll be treated with a visit to one of the biggest housing communities out there, the Wildkia group, so stay tuned for more details. Now let's give thanks to everyone who invited us over this week for visits. They were absolutely great, as well as all of you who joined us for the exploration and fun. Lots of love to our fellow patrons, and of course, there is you, viewer. You made it to the end, you fed the algorithm. Please like this video, subscribe for more WoW coverage, catch me live, and I'll catch you later. Stay safe, stay healthy, and stay breezy.